Congratulations on making it this far. This will be the final video in this series. In this video, we will cover how to create the final feature view for our users. All the work thus far served in building these golden records. Now all that's left is configuring a meaningful way to serve these records in your target schema so that they can act as source tables for all your downstream use cases. After we create a couple of feature views, we will then cover how to commit this project to our production environment, configure a retention policy, and finally schedule our project to run every 24 hours. Within Profiles, we have this concept called a feature view. These are dedicated views that are meant to be the final production tables used for RETL sources, BI reports, or fed into additional modeling tools. Creating feature views are really simple. All the hard work has previously been done. All that's left is defining how we want to serve this data. We will do this directly within the entity definition. Let's go back to our PB project YAML file, where our entity is defined. We will define these views beneath the ID types within the entity definition. For our purpose, we want to define two separate views. One that has the resolved user main ID as the primary key. We can use that as a record for all our users, known and unknown. And then another that has the user email as the primary key. This will represent all main IDs that have an email in the graph. The root key used to define feature views is called feature views. We will add that here. Once we add that, there are two types of feature views we can create. We can define a name for the default feature view that will be created. This is the feature view that will use the main ID as the primary key. We will call this the user profile by main ID. Now, we can create what is called a custom feature view. The purpose of the custom feature view is to allow for the flexibility to choose what ID type you want to be the primary key. This will be a pivot of the default feature view. That means, if a user happens to have more than one email, for example, they will have duplicate records in the output. Note that if they have duplicate records, the feature values will remain the same. They will not be over-aggregated. Also note, any main IDs that do not have an email will not be represented in this view. We use the email ID type as the primary key, and we will name this view user profile by email. That's it. Now let's save and commit our configuration. Then, let's run Profiles again and query the outputs. The run is now complete. We now have two feature views within our target schema that we want to query. Let's query the first default feature view that we made. Here we have the main ID as the primary key, and we can see all our computed features to the right. Now, let's query the custom feature view. We can see here that the email is the primary key, and we can see all the computed features to the right. Secure Solutions now has two unified user feature views that can serve as the source of truth on their current and prospecting customers. This unlocks a lot of power for the business. Within these views, Secure Solutions now has some of the features they need to power downstream marketing campaigns. They also have the ID resolution between users and device IDs, which will also serve their push notifications to their customers based on their camera events. They can extend these feature views to support whatever business use cases they need in the future. Now, all that's left is to commit this project to production. Let's save this configuration session and then press the commit button. Remember, committing a project will push the configuration to the production configuration, which we can run outside the IDE. If you have a cloud repository connected or want to connect one in the future, all changes in this session would also be pushed to that main branch. Lastly, let's schedule this Profiles project to run every 24 hours. We will also set a retention policy so that we can keep the schema as clean as possible by dropping all stale-based tables. Exit the IDE and go to the Profiles setting tab. We can edit the schedule info there. I will set this to 24 hours. Now let's edit the retention policy. I will set it to 2 days. Finally, I will go to the History tab and click Run on the top right. Remember, we originally made two separate schemas, one for production and one for development. Each time we developed within the IDE, we ran profiles on our dev schema. Now we will run this in our production schema by clicking Run here in the History tab. The production run has been completed. Notice now, within the Profiles Project Entity tab, we see additional objects that have rendered. We see the entity name and the ID consolidation from thousands of aliases down to 481 main IDs. And we can see our default cohort which represents all the users below. Additional cohorts can be created within the project if desired. That is out of scope of this video series, but our docs will cover how to configure those. If I click into the All cohort, I can actually get a preview of the feature view created. If desired, you can click on the user's breadcrumb up top and also do individual profile lookups. I will look up Carol Foster, one of our customers. RudderStack will query the ID graph and the feature view and render the results in the UI here. We can now see all of Carol Foster's aliases or other IDs. Additionally, we can see all her features here. Congratulations on completing this Profiles video series. We hope that the information learned within this series has equipped you to build comprehensive profiles around your customers and whatever other entities you want to model data around. Now go solve some business problems. Happy modeling!